The next time anyone uses Pro Bowls to justify one player being better than another, or to make an argument like that, let them know this. Ken Riley is one of the greatest defensive backs in the history of the NFL. He played with the Cincinnati Bengals for about a decade and a half, and he ended his career 5th all-time in receptions. The man we're talking about today has made more Pro Bowls than that guy. Welcome, everybody, to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared Garrett, representing the 904 from the 602, and today we have more quarterback news because it feels like there's quarterback news happening every single day this offseason. Obviously, yesterday, Justin Fields getting traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We had some other news with Mac Jones getting traded to the Jaguars, Sam Howell getting traded. It seems like everyone's going and moving and whatnot, and now we have another new move. Tyler Huntley, the free agent quarterback who spent the last 4 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens, as in the original Cleveland Browns, is now going to the new version of the Cleveland Browns, if you want to put it like that. Tyler Huntley, now member of the Cleveland Browns, signing a 1-year deal to be on the roster. Played 4 seasons in Baltimore, 1,957 yards as Lamar Jackson's backup. He was the number 2 guy there. 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 79 passer rating. He did start 1 game last season for the Ravens, which was that Week 18 nationally televised rainy game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. A meaningless game. The Ravens rested all their starters because not just bad weather, but because they have the number 1 seed locked up. Now, this move for Tyler Huntley, I don't get this at all. I mean, I get it for the Browns. You want more quarterback depth. I get that 100% for the Browns. Don't get me wrong. Tyler Huntley on a 1-year deal, that's a very good move for Cleveland in terms of establishing that quarterback room. They have a lot of good bodies going into the 2024 season in that quarterback room. Having said that, how does this make sense for Tyler Huntley? Now, I don't want you to conflate this with me defending him and saying that he's a great quarterback. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Tyler Huntley doesn't throw deep. His yards per attempt of 5.7 over the last 4 seasons is incredibly poor. For some perspective, among quarterbacks with at least 200 passing attempts, there's 70 of them. Tyler Huntley in that stat ranks 67th out of those 70, only ahead of Trevor Siemian, Bryce Young, and Mike Glennon. The average is roughly 7 yards per pass attempt. Huntley is about 1.5 yards under that. So I don't want you to conflate this with me defending Tyler Huntley and being like, oh, this guy's a starter, this guy's a top-end backup. No, not at all. But I just don't get why on earth Tyler Huntley would do this. For one, Cleveland has had Kevin Stefanski as their head coach for 4 seasons. 4 pretty good seasons, all things considered. Made the playoffs twice, and before Stefanski, they only made it once since re-entering the league in 1999. Having said that, Stefanski has kept 2 quarterbacks on his initial 53-man roster going into week 1 all 4 times. In 2020, his first year there, Baker Mayfield was his 1, and then he kept Case Keenum on. In 2021, same thing. Baker Mayfield was the 1, Case Keenum was on as the backup. 2022, you had Jacoby Brissett, and you had Josh Dobbs. Deshaun Watson did not count against the 53-man roster due to the suspension. Guys that are suspended don't count against the 53. And then last season, Deshaun Watson was his 1, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, the preseason sensation. I'm going to talk more about him in a future video coming out today on JG9 News, so make sure you're here for that, and what his future is, because it's looking kind of bleak now with this move. But Watson and DTR were the 2 quarterbacks. So Kevin Stefanski in his 4 seasons there has never kept 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster heading into week 1. And right now, the Browns already have their 2 quarterbacks. They have Deshaun Watson. Obviously, he's not going anywhere. They gave him $250 million guaranteed. They can't get out of that contract even if they wanted to. He's the 1. Jameis Winston, they signed him to a pretty substantial 1-year contract. You're not cutting him. He's clearly the number 2, just as he was in New Orleans. So unless Stefanski changes his philosophy and keeps 3 quarterbacks on the 53 for the first time ever, Huntley's not making the team. Huntley's not making it onto the team. Now, again, I'm not saying that Huntley's a top 40, top 45, maybe not even a top 50 quarterback. Who knows? But he's a mid-2, he's a high-end 3 that probably could have made it on a bunch of teams, but on Cleveland, he virtually has no shot unless Kevin Stefanski changes his philosophy. Now, obviously, this is not like Mike Tomlin with the Steelers where he always keeps 3 quarterbacks. He's done that for 16, 17 years. So we know what his philosophy is. Stefanski, the sample size is 4. Granted, it's 100% of the time, but it's 4. And obviously, that can change based on Deshaun Watson's history. With injuries, you might want to keep 3 quarterbacks this year. And to be fair, Stefanski kept 3 on the final 53-man roster going into the playoff game against the Texans. Obviously, Joe Flacco was the starter, Jeff Driscoll and P.J. Walker as the 2 backups. But at least history tells you that Stefanski will only keep 2 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. And Tyler Huntley, you can debate whether he's good or not, but he's better than a camp body. And I don't know why you would sign this early, not even a week into free agency, and not wait until some dominoes fall when he's got a very bad chance to make the roster. Again, there are some other teams that could use a guy like Tyler Huntley as their 2, as their 3, that have a shot at keeping 3 quarterbacks on the roster, or at the very least keeping Tyler Huntley on the roster. Look at the San Francisco 49ers. Kyle Shanahan carries 3 quarterbacks. He did that for the last 2 seasons. You could easily make the argument that Tyler Huntley could be the number 2 guy behind Brock Purdy. He could probably beat out Brendan Allen for the job. Brendan Allen hasn't done anything in the NFL since he got drafted by the Jaguars in 2016 out of Arkansas. And he could probably beat out a rookie that the team drafts behind Purdy, assuming it's a day 3 guy. What about the Detroit Lions? Dan Campbell. He's carried 3 quarterbacks in 2 of the last 3 seasons. You lost your backup quarterback with Teddy Bridgewater after he announced his retirement following the 2020 season. Right now, the Lions only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster with Jared Goff and Hendon Hooker, the guy they drafted out of Tennessee in round 3 last year. And we don't know what Hooker is. You want Hooker to be the next man up this early on? If Jared Goff goes down, you might not want him as the next man up just yet, especially because he hasn't played any action in preseason or regular season. So I don't know why Tyler Huntley would sign with the Browns when history says he's not going to have any chance to make the roster unless Stefanski does something he has never done as a head coach before. And on top of that, there's no connection with Ken Dorsey. You might be saying, well, maybe this would make sense because Tyler Huntley knows Ken Dorsey. Remember, the Browns got a new offensive coordinator, getting Ken Dorsey, the former offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, before he got fired in the middle of last season. They went with Joe Brady. The offense improved tremendously. As a result, they started actually handing the ball off more to James Cook, and the offense really got things going. But now Ken Dorsey, the new offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns. But there's no connection. Tyler Huntley has never played under Ken Dorsey, has never worked under Ken Dorsey. I looked for quotes by Ken Dorsey before making this video about Tyler Huntley. I could find absolutely nothing. No endorsement whatsoever by Dorsey to Tyler Huntley. So this move just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm not sure why Tyler Huntley would sign this early and sign on a roster that he likely has no chance at making. I'm not saying that he would be a high-end number 2 quarterback by any means. I'm not saying he would be locked to make any roster in the NFL besides Cleveland. Don't get me wrong. But just based on Stefanski's history and based on what the Browns have at quarterback already with Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston, I don't get this move at all for Tyler Huntley. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what exactly happens out in Cleveland with that quarterback room, because it is very interesting. Got 4 quarterbacks there right now: Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, Tyler Huntley, and the 5th-round pick from last year, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who looked very good last preseason. We'll see what unfolds there. But Tyler Huntley signing with the Browns, signing with this team behind me right here, I'd be very, very surprised if he makes the roster unless Kevin Stefanski changes the philosophy that he's used for the last 4 years that he's been the head coach in Cleveland. But what are your thoughts on the Tyler Huntley signing? Do you like the move? Do you not like the move for the Browns? Do you like the move for Tyler Huntley? Tyler Huntley made the Pro Bowl in 2022 when everyone dropped out. Do you think that Tyler Huntley is the worst Pro Bowler of all time? What are your thoughts on that? Maybe Mike Borrello, Tyler Huntley, Jeff Saturday, that one year he was with Green Bay. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. And that's going to do for this episode of JJ9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, Jaguar9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is Jaguar9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.